All right, welcome everybody. We're a few minutes late, as usual, due to my technical difficulties. But welcome to stream. Welcome to Wednesday. Everything was green. Now everything's red. We should have done the stream an hour ago because the whole entire Bitcoin miner big board was just green big time. And now, other than Cleanspark and Mawson, it is now completely red. So we'll see. It's a long day. It
felt like it was set up to me.
It was a setup, big time. This was some major price activity in the wrong direction. Barry said I can see George good. Yeah, I forgot to ask. Hopefully you should be able to see George and see me and hear George and hear me. So if any of those things can't happen, just let us know. Thank you very much. All right, let's start out right away with my regular request. If everyone could please smash the like button, I would appreciate it. It helps the live stream out in real time, so much appreciated. Let's get some people on board. And obviously today we want to talk about a bunch of stuff, but I got to go through CPI data. That, that should have been what was driving the narrative, but we had a big, this candle, so this was the candle when CPI data was released, and you can see we got as high as, let's see, 30,517. So the immediate knee-jerk reaction, this report came in essentially better than expected, and that wasn't even one of the options that I was thinking was possible, honestly. So I was surprised this was better than expected. We got a nice pump for one 15-minute candle, and then we went right back down to exactly where we were before. And if I look at the market, let's look at what the market did. So the market did the same thing. The market is now, the NASDAQ's now down 0.4%. It was up like 0.8%. So, and the futures were down. They jumped up as soon as the CPI data came out, and now everything has slowly just fallen back down to where it was to begin with. So
you can't win with this market, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, and today now we've got red. I mean, the S&P's almost at zero, so it's still early to call which way the day is going to go. But we're a little bit in the red, but the NASDAQ's down 0.5%. And if I go to Bitcoin, I mean, Bitcoin is now in this candle right here starting to get towards its lows on the day. And the Bitcoin miners are just out of control. Now, I'll pull up a chart. We just had back-to-back unbelievably green days on the Bitcoin miners. So some of this might be just given a little bit back of the massive run-ups we just had. But, I mean, these are starting to be big moves. Iris Energy's down 7%. Let's look at the big ones. So Riot is down 1.7 and Mara's down 1.6. Those are the two biggest by far. Cypher's the third biggest. It's down almost 6%. The Mighty Wolf, which at one point this morning popped up to, for just a few seconds, it was up 16% this morning, and now it's down 6%. So I would wait for it on that one. I'm not sure what's going on there. But that follows the general pattern. Everything went from green to red very, very, very quickly. I mean, we're still pretty early in the trading day.
What do you think? Bitfarms? You know they're not going to make it.
Down to $1.05. Come on.
You know they're not going to. I mean, they're going to punish that guy forever.
They gotta stay above $1. We got a streak of one day in a row going here with Bitfarms. Let's and this is the tough one because now we got some pressure. So if we can hold today, there's hope. And you can see we're right around, and this was true all night last night. We were on either side of this 30,000 we were more like, about $50 under $30,000 all night last night. And right now we're $7 under 30,000. We just crossed under the line. So altogether, that's still only a $500 move from the spike when CPI data came out until right now. So it's not a big move, and it's an even smaller move if I measure from where we closed yesterday, where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed. We're down about 0.5%. So today, Bitcoin and the market seem to be doing the same thing so far. Bitcoin's down 0.5%. The Nasdaq's down 0.5%. They've been doing the opposite for many days in a row, but today, everything. And here's the thing, and in my opinion, this is why. For whatever reason, so Barry's saying, has the next rate hike prediction changed? So this is what's crazy to me. It has not changed. So yesterday, before this announcement, there was a 72.9% chance of a 25 basis point rate hike. Today, that has changed to 72.1%. So that is virtually unchanged. So to me, this was the best case possible scenario. We had a forecast that was extremely aggressive. The consensus was that CPI was going to go down 0.8. So that was very aggressive to even meet the forecast. We beat it and went down a full percent, and it still didn't change what everybody thinks the Fed is going to do. So I think it is extremely fair to say we're getting a 25 basis point rate hike. That might as well say 100 in my mind. I thought there was the one scenario I thought we could possibly move down to 0, and I really thought it was very, very unlikely. Would have been if we beat CPI today. Well, we did beat CPI today, and it changed nobody's mind. So this is baked in. It's happening. We're getting, unless something bizarre happens between now and May 3rd, we're getting a 25 basis point rate hike. And Canada, yesterday or this morning, I'm not sure, they just held rates again. So this is the second meeting in a row for them where they did not raise rates. So we're already higher than they are, and they're holding. They see inflation as okay. I got an article somewhere on that we can dig into. Ricky's saying, don't make fun of my Bitfarms, George. I'm sensitive. I second that.
I just don't think they're going to hold it.
Oh, see, I left for a split second, and look what it's doing now. Here we go. Geez, yesterday's live stream, we were going up in a straight green line. Let's reverse this. We got to stop the madness. This is taking us all the way back to...
Oof.
That erases yesterday. One day. Today's the 12th, so the last time we were down here was just before midnight Eastern time in the U.S. So, yeah.
It's going to be a rough stream, Tom.
We got a day. Well, maybe that was the bottom. I think we just hit bottom. I'm calling it. I'm calling it right now. We just hit bottom. It's up from here for the rest of the day. This is a double fake out. We got faked out to the upside. We got faked out to the downside. And now things are going to balance themselves out. Possible, not financial advice. Buying opportunity maybe for some of these.
Opportunity? Question mark?
I mean, all of a sudden you got everything down 3, 4, 5, 6%. This stuff was up 6% an hour ago. So that's a big swing. I'm just going to look at Iris Energy in particular. Let's just see what's going on. Just to pick a. Let's go to the 15 minute. Then we got to do this, and then I got to go.
Just so you know, guys, I haven't liked the stream yet. I'm still debating.
Yeah, you're debating whether or not to press like on the stream. Thanks, George. We appreciate your vote of confidence.
Still debating. So far with that Bitfarms comment, I'm not feeling it.
Oh, this is covering up. Well, anyway, let me delete it because that's covering it up. But so the market opened, and you can see we had a giant. This is Iris Energy. Iris Energy was at one point. So this is where we closed yesterday. At one point, this was up. Well, not that much, 2.76%, and now it's down 8%. So that's a 10 or 11% move, and I think all these are down somewhere around 10% in the last 45 minutes. For instance, Bitfarms. Boy, they really are going to bust my chops again on this one.
They are, I'm telling you. It's funny because I wanted to do a post this morning and say, will Bitcoin end above $1 today?
So let's see. This is where we finished the day yesterday. So we did. Right, that was the end of the day yesterday. So we were up as much as, not too much, but we were up 2.42%. And we're now down 4.5%. Although rallying, I see green. I see a green candle. Let's get back to the.
Before the stream, I was talking to Tom, and I was bitching because you can tell that Cleanspark is selling today. At least that's what it felt like. It'd be nice to really know. And hey, JD.
Yeah, well, that would be nice to see in real time. Cleanspark is still green. There are only 3 left on the whole board that are green, and a lot of these are deep red. So, but George was saying, I think $3.30 might be the move today to get out at Cleanspark.
Yeah, I should have. I felt it. It's. Can you believe? I won't. It's. I can't believe how much money that is. That little bit of a move is so much freaking money.
Yeah, when you got that many shares, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it's down. Cleanspark was up like 7%. I mean, it's still up 1.6, so it's doing better than everything else. But all these have just dropped big time. We got a little bit of green going on the 15 minutes, and we did pull way off of the bottom on that candle. I feel like we did call the exact bottom. We called it right here for the record. We'll see. Hopefully we did. Hopefully I'm not jinxing us and we're about to go lower. Yeah, George is waiting to see the Cleanspark chart to decide whether or not he's going to like the channel or not. So because George hasn't liked the channel, if everybody else would be so kind enough as to like the channel, it helps the live stream in real time and is much appreciated. Because we've got to go. There's a bunch of headlines to go through. So I just wanted to start here. Obviously, we start here on Bitcoin, and we see we just had. I mean, this is since the stream. We just took a move under 30,000. We were very, last night. How low did we get? 29,879 was the lowest we got last night. So $120 under 30,000. So we've been holding tight to 30,000, and now we don't want to make that move to the downside away from 30,000. So I feel like that is important. Thanks for the like, George.
29,868. Uh-oh.
Hello, Ed and Barry and Ricky and MJ or Mr. J, JD, Space Oddity, and everybody else if I missed you.
How many people are in Great Britain? Do you know?
34 million.
Is there? Do you know? Is that
no,
right?
that was a guess.
It's probably only that. It's probably just something like that. Space Oddity. You really think Riot will be 70 to 100 in a year or so?
67 million people. Well, is Great Britain the right way to say this? Should we say, well, it's saying the United Kingdom. So 67 million. That's the same as France? That shocks
Wow.
me for some reason.
Me too. I thought France was only like 5 million people.
I thought that the United Kingdom was significantly larger than France in population, but it turns out, and Stephen English was saying UK 67 million. Thank you. You're right there with us. I think Canada's in the like 30, 35 million or something. 38 million.
Since this is going to be an issue, I would imagine relatively soon. If China invades Taiwan, what happens to the stock market, in your humble opinion?
In my humble opinion, that would be bad.
You do? You think that's bad for the stock market? Is
the
it good for
trickier
gold? I mean,
question
is it good for gold or is it good for oil?
Oil's, if that happens, everything that happens makes oil go up. So, but here's going to be the question. It may be bad for the market, but how about for Bitcoin? Bitcoin and gold and silver, is that going to be a flight to safety in that instance?
That would be a good poll. Don't you think?
Let's do it.
If China invades Taiwan, or should we say when?
I think having any of this poll is going to get our whole channel banned for good, but how do we properly word this?
I don't know. I think that's a good financial question. I'm not being this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with freaking investing. I don't care less about the politics of it.
I agree with you.
I just don't want to lose money.
I just know that.
Does that make sense?
Unfortunately, there's the word police, and we've learned very well which words we're allowed to say and which words we are not allowed to say.
If you don't want to do it, I understand.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say if there's global issues regarding Taiwan.
Okay.
How do you spell Taiwan, though? Because I can't spell.
Taiwan?
Close enough.
What
are we going to ask?
What's going to be the best thing to run to? Is it gold, Bitcoin, silver, or oil? Can you do 4?
Yep.
What's going to go up the most? And the most would be by the end of the year. Does that seem? Yeah, that seems like a good. I mean, because you really got to think that the stock market's going to hemorrhage. I was listening to.
We're not even putting the stock. I think we should put gold/silver and add the stock market as an option.
Okay. Because I think that, I mean, they're looking for a reason to have the stock market go down. Don't you?
Yeah.
I think it is bomb. You can't say bomb on an airplane. Bomb, 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 bomb. Remember that? Anybody know what show that was?
I can't remember.
It was a movie.
I remember it. I just can't remember. So let's see. Anybody in the chat, can you get that? I just got stumped. I can't believe it.
You can milk anything with teats. How about that one?
Oh, Meet the Parents.
Yeah.
Nice. Mr. J got that.
How about me, Greg? Can you milk me? Sorry.
That was a good movie.
Probably gonna get banned for that.
I did not watch all of the sequels, but the original, that was a classic.
What's going on? I just got in.
Welcome, Darren.
Okay. Global issues.
We don't know what's going on.
Regarding Taiwan. Where is the best place to put your money? Gold, silver, stock equities, Bitcoin, or oil? I don't even know.
So that's our poll for the day. In the let's hope in the very unlikely event that there's an issue regarding China and Taiwan that escalates. What
I would think
where
I
are
know
people
the
going to
answer
put
of
their
us.
money?
I think that's the one I'm going with.
Which one?
We got 10 votes so far, and Bitcoin was what I picked, by the way.
Let's see what people do, and understand our stream is skewed towards people that like Bitcoin. So we have to take that into account with our
Yes.
right. This would not necessarily be the same on somebody else's stream, but vote your in somebody else's words, vote your conscience. Don't let anybody affect your decision. We are getting a little bit of a comeback here on Bitcoin. So for the moment, that actually, I mean, I was joking, but that actually was the bottom for the time being. Let's see if we can keep some momentum going.
It's not a nice joke, Tom.
It's, hey, listen, if it works out that way, it's a beautiful thing. Let's see. Barry's saying, what words can't we say? Unfortunately, I can't say. I can't say which words we can't say.
I pick uranium. Jeff.
I pick uranium. Jeff, this is one instance where that is not an option. Although, okay, we should have done other. We got one vote for uranium.
Wow, a lot of people. Do people not think anything's going to happen in Taiwan?
Oh,
Does
well,
anybody know what's going on in Taiwan?
Maybe that's our next poll.
I think they moved within 50 miles of Taiwan, China did. And again, this is not politics. We're just talking about world events.
Yeah, that's the line. That's the fine line we're trying to balance on this channel. We need to talk about all these geopolitical events and global events because they have a massive impact on the stock market, on Bitcoin, on oil, on your finances, on investing in general. So, you know, by the same token, this is not a political channel, and getting too deep into one side or the other really does not help in investing, in my opinion. I feel very strongly about that. So regardless of your politics, right, if we argue about politics, I guarantee we're going to have a 50-50 argument, and, you know, everybody's going to end up mad. But if we all talk about investing, I think we've got a lot of savvy investors, particularly that are our subscribers and our members here, that, you know, if we focus on that, I feel like this channel has done very well, just as far as our stocks in 2023 especially. 2022 was devastating, I must admit. But we've talked about a lot of great stocks, but we do need to consider what's going on in the world because obviously that massively impacts our investments. Let's see. Yeah, Brent. I don't think Brent is on with us. He's our local uranium. He's our go-to uranium guy. But Jeff has vowed to support him on our members only. We keep voting, and the uranium stock has not won yet. Hasn't won the deep dive vote yet. So didn't even. I was gonna say it got close, but that's not even true. It didn't even get close yesterday.
They switched the definitions of recession. We've been in recession for 8 months now. What did they switch it to? Does anybody really know how they changed it? It was 2 quarters of negative GNP, I think, is how they changed it to now.
I think what they changed basically was because we did have 2 negative quarters in a row of GDP. But there was a wrinkle, and it was a little unusual. Employment was not affected in the typical way it would be in that scenario. So, you know, a lot of the politicians and talking heads, if you will, argued that wasn't really a recession, even though, I mean, that has been the definition. Now, it's kind of always been assumed that also, you know, the employment's going to take a hit in that scenario. That's the normal thing. So this was a little bit abnormal, but I would tend to agree that, listen, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, that is a recession. So, you know, the question now is, are we going to have another recession?
I think we are.
Well, I don't think you're alone. That's our next poll.
Bros, they're Dutch boys. Was that what it's called? Dutch boys? Or Dutch bros.
Dutch bros. Jeff said, "Oh, Tom, your bros member video was great. Thank you, Jeff." And Jeff recommended that video, and the members voted, and that's the one that won. So,
You can say on this? Would you buy it?
I had a positive review of Bros. In my opinion, I think it was a positive. I mean, I try to go through the pros and the cons and what's good and what's bad, but I do think that's a, let's put it this way. I recommend people put it on their watch list. If you are a member, I would watch that video because it's definitely worth watching. If you are not a member, I'm going to put a link in. You can become a member of the channel by hitting the join button on the YouTube homepage. It's right next to the subscribe button. So we have a lot of videos that are for members only. The members get to pick certain videos, so we do those videos for the members at their request. And we also have a members-only Discord that I stay active in. We have a free Discord you're welcome to join as well, but the whole world is in that one, and the conversation does deteriorate from time to time. So I think we have a much more focused conversation in the members-only Discord. And we have a once-a-week members-only live stream. So if you're interested, and Jeff said, join the membership. So, yes, and it helps support the channel, just so you guys know. If you want to watch, I watched a video yesterday, and I'm experiencing this, so I know it, and most people haven't shared this, and we've talked a little bit about it on the channel. Jeremy at, I think his channel is Financial Education, maybe. You know, he's got a lot. He's got 700,000 subscribers, and he's been doing this for years. And he went through and showed yesterday, like I don't know what's going on with advertising, but revenue on YouTube revenue's down like 70%, pretty much across the board. So for the same amount of views, we're getting paid 70% less. And by the way, already we were still prior to that, we were getting paid almost nothing. So now we're getting paid 70% less than almost nothing. So I'm not complaining. That's not, why we do this, but I do appreciate the members. It does help support my ability to do this every day. So thank you very much to all members.
Tom,
George,
so what would you call a recession?
I mean, I would stick with the straight definition. If you have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, to me, that's a recession.
Do we currently have that?
Well, we're not in the middle of that now. We already had that. We had 2 consecutive quarters. Now we've switched back to positive GDP. So, are we going to go negative again?
How do they determine the GDP when you have so much government influence on it? You know what I mean?
Well, that's not a bad question. What's the real GDP number? What's the real unemployment number? I mean, if you guys look, I think the government has 6 or 7 different unemployment numbers that they issue. Now, there's one that they use as their public number for consistency purposes, but I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at that. So that even themselves, they do a lot of different numbers. Welcome, Robert. Stevens, we appreciate what you do. It's a small price to pay. Thank you, Steven. Much appreciated. Thanks for being a member. I mean, it's hard. That's the hardest part. Well, it's not the hardest part, but one of the hard parts of this is we get all these data points. And, even for instance, then, the next month they get revised. So you go, oh, I made my whole decision last month on, an employment number, and then they changed it a month later. And then a month later they changed it again. So it's tricky business. There's no doubt about it. And I try not to use those things too heavily. I mean, if you see a blatant, obvious trend going one way or the other. And, more importantly to me, all those things added up. Here's what's important. Those are all the variables that add up to go into what's the Fed going to do on May 3rd. So if you take each piece of that puzzle and you decide, and if you look at this chart, you can see the futures are showing the market thinks we're going to get a 25 basis point rate hike, period. So, and I think that too. I did think there was a small chance, and this is the first time I've thought this. I thought there was a small chance of no rate hike. I thought that would have been a mistake on their part, only because they would lose the very little bit of credibility that they have left. But we did beat on CPI, and the market didn't flinch at all. It still thinks we're going 25 basis points, and I think that's true. I think they're kind of boxed into that this time. Next time, the next one, so the June 14th meeting, I think there will be a big debate as to whether or not it's 25 basis points or 0. So this
okay,
one,
and that poll, we got to do another poll.
all right, let's do it.
Everybody's Bitcoin, obviously.
All right, Bitcoin
won.
by a mile, gold and silver.
That's going to be interesting to pay attention to.
Yeah, so that's the order of best performing assets, let's say, per our crowd. So Bitcoin, then silver, and gold.
I guess people don't realize that I picked Bitcoin just because we're all Bitcoin people here. But if I was to honestly tell you, I think oil is going to make the largest increase. I think oil will double or double and a half. That's what I think is going to happen.
There is always the chance.
I think that's going to happen within.
It spirals.
I think if Taiwan gets invaded, or if anything like that, I think oil is going to get very close to $100. I don't think it's going to go over $100. But Kevin,
welcome to Talkin' Investing Squad.
And that makes sense, right, Tom? I mean, doesn't that make a logical with oil?
I mean, we've seen when oil spirals, it runs up to that $130 type of a price, pretty quickly. So just want to give another official welcome to thank you for joining, becoming a member to Kevin. Much appreciated. Welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. Kevin, I know you've been with us for a while as a subscriber and in the comments section, so welcome aboard. Much appreciated. JD said I picked oil.
I'm usually an oil guy, but I'm gonna need currency. So here comes the next one. Do you buy into the hype about this 187
All right, welcome to
banks that are going to collapse? Seems to be
repeat.
Do you buy into the hype that there's 187 banks that are going to collapse?
No.
And why don't you?
Well, it's funny you should ask that. If I did my job right, which is hit or miss, I should have an article that answers that question. Give me 30 seconds. Where'd it go?
Who thinks Riot will hit 100 next bull run?
Okay, so here's my answer. Your buddy
supposedly. So let me just give you a little, and these are just here from people saying, is that there's only 1.87% of money, like percentage, that the FDIC has to back up the amount of money that's on deposits. Just telling you what they're saying.
Well, the question is not how much does the FDIC have.
Right.
The question is how much does the Federal Reserve have?
Correct.
Because that's last time this happened, it was not the FDIC that came in and saved the day. It was the Fed. We tried to get Congress to do something. That didn't happen, so it immediately, once that didn't happen and this was back 15 years ago, the wheels came off in days. And there was a run. For the people who were there and remember, there was a run on the banks were, To say there was a run on the banks is an understatement. Without the Fed stepping in and backstopping things, all the banks were done. All the bank stocks would have been at zero within maybe one more day.
Tell the story that you tell me all the time about somebody went in front of Congress and said, "Hey, listen, I need, what was it, 187 billion."
Hank Paulson went in front at the time and said he needs $700 billion, or we're in big trouble, and he needs it today. And they laughed at him, and they laughed, and they laughed, and they said, no way, not happening. And, within a week of that, the Fed had spent double that, backstopping the banks, which did. And that was one of the catalysts, that rejection from Congress for that. And I understand, listen, going to Congress and asking for a blank check is, that's not standard operating procedure. But he understood at the time, like, the banking system was failing and it needed a backstop or it was done. So Congress didn't do it. So ultimately the Fed did it. They jumped in, they opened the window, and they said, we have infinite money. Sky's the limit. And that's the reason that these banks, and I'm talking about the big banks. Citibank was headed towards zero. Bank of America was headed towards zero. All of them.
Was Chase?
Chase was headed towards zero. The one that held on the best by far was, and this isn't even really a bank, it's an investment firm, was Goldman Sachs. But even that got beat up badly. So my answer to your question, are the banks going to fail, is Warren Buffett. This article came out today. Quote, nobody is going to lose money on a deposit in a U.S. bank. So last time around, Warren Buffett was pivotal to instilling some confidence into the system when we did hit rock bottom. I'm not like a Warren Buffett guy, I will tell you. So no offense to Warren Buffett, but he's not. We don't always agree on everything, but on this we agree. Warren Buffett restored confidence in banks during the 2008 financial crisis. On Wednesday, he offered up some new words of assurance about the turmoil that gripped regional banks in March. People, quote, do not need to be panicked about the industry, and nobody is going to lose money on a deposit in a U.S. bank, the billionaire who runs Berkshire Hathaway said in an interview with CNBC. It's not going to happen.
Who's calling?
So to me, those are, that's Warren Buffett, and, he still does carry a lot of weight, and say what you want, but as all these companies went up and down, and a lot of the big companies took huge hits, Berkshire Hathaway is like a rock. That's probably that might be the safest investment over the last 30, 40 years in the entire stock market. So that's my answer as long as you bring it up. I got Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has got my back on this one. I don't think there's going to be a string. That doesn't mean I don't think there's more pain ahead. I think there's going to be more pain. There may be a couple of sacrificial lambs, if you will. So, we may get one here that goes out and one there that goes out. Some pain has to be felt when these things get to this point, but they're not going to let 190 banks go out of business. It's not. That's beyond a disaster scenario. So I think that Warren Buffett knows better than any of us on this, and he's saying, don't worry about it. Nobody's going to lose any of their money.
So you think that we can do this again? You think that they're going to do that again, is what you're saying, if the banks start to fail?
I think the mere fact that they've made it crystal clear that they are going to that they're going to backstop these banks is preventing this run from happening. We did have a panic run. We did lose, 2-3 banks in the U.S.? 2 of the 3 biggest banks to ever fail just failed like a month ago here in the U.S. But I think every part of the government came in and made it clear that that's not, even the banks that failed, they stepped in and said, listen, no one's losing any of your money. All your deposits are available Monday morning right? Because remember, the bank out there in California, like 80% or 90% of their deposits were above the FDIC limit. So there were a lot of people that stood to lose the vast majority of their money, but they came in over the weekend, right? They had a special Saturday meeting and Sunday meeting, and Janet Yellen and everybody issued a thing saying, listen, Monday morning, all your deposits are good. Nobody has to worry about anything. So,
James Ross says this, and I agree kind of with what he's saying. These are tough questions. War, what is it good for? Can change a lot of actions that the Fed can take. I wouldn't put full confidence in big bailouts.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. If the banks
Would you
fail,
say that's the end of the United States then? If the banks fail?
If the banks fail, it's all over.
Okay.
If the I mean, I don't want to.
That's game, set, match.
I don't want to be the guy that presses the panic button, but understand that that's the backbone of everything. If the banks fail, there is no plan B to continue anything that even slightly resembles business as usual. We're done.
There's no plan B.
There isn't one. I mean.
And I'm not, and again, these are not political questions. These are things that other people are talking about these are just facts. Is there an issue right now with banks, Tom? Do you know, or have you read, or?
There's absolutely an issue going on with banks. I mean, we just had 2 of the 3 largest bank failures in the history of the United States in 2023. So, it's
and is that bad?
That's very bad.
I'm not trying to be belittling. I just think that, you and I, come up with these statements that we know what we agree, what we believe in, but I'm not saying that everybody necessarily agrees with what we think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and everybody doesn't have to agree, but I think it's fair to say everybody can acknowledge the fact that there has been a big problem in the banks in 2023. We've had 2 gigantic bank failures, and, there's an enormous amount of concern regarding the health of mostly the regional banks. In this instance, it's not even the big banks. So the big guys, this time around is a little different than last time. Nobody's really even talking about being worried about the big guys, but they're worried about, they talk about 190, but there's a lot more than that, regional and local banks, that if people get scared and start pulling their money out of those banks and putting them into, the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 gigantic banks, that would cause, a potential spiral that we don't want to get involved in. So I think everybody at every level is doing everything they can to make sure nobody does that.
So this could be a crazy question, but where's all the money gone?
Like, where's all the cash gone?
Yeah. Is it just rotating out of the United States?
Well, I know where like $700 billion a year goes is to interest. So, that doesn't come back.
Right.
It goes to corporations. I mean, I'm not political, but we've never lived in a world where there were multiple trillion-dollar-plus market cap corporations. I mean, the money that's transferred into corporations has been massive over the last decade. Right? Apple and Microsoft are worth more than $2 trillion each. Google's worth more than $1 trillion. Amazon, as of yesterday, was still over $1 trillion. Let's just see if that changed. So they're still hanging out at $1 trillion. So there was no such thing as $1 trillion company. The biggest, if you go back 20 years, and time moves on, but $400 billion was like the biggest market cap company in the world. Now that's turned into, at one point, Apple was $3 trillion. I mean, that's not keeping pace with inflation. That's a drastic move so when you say, where's the money going? Big businesses have made unprecedented amounts of money in the last, decade or decade and a half. And now with inflation, the money, that's obviously, that beats on your money or the value of your money.
What happens when I'm going to say when Apple throws at least $1 billion in to Bitcoin? Because they have to do it.
That's the thing. You've got companies like Apple. Apple has, last time I checked, over $100 billion in cash. So for them to throw $1 billion into Bitcoin would just be hardly dipping their toe in the water. So those things are going to happen at some point. I mean, that would be, to do any less than that would not even be meaningful for Apple.
Right, right.
Amazon doesn't have quite the cash that Apple does, but Apple and Microsoft have a fortress of liquidity. So this is a $2.5 trillion company. And let me take a shortcut and see if it works. Otherwise, I'll go to their actual financial statements. But these guys have cash in the bank that's like, so as of 9/30/2022, and there's more recent numbers, this said they had 48 in cash, but investments and advances, I got to go to their real thing because they have liquid over $100 billion at their disposal that, they could do anything they wanted with.
Do they keep that in the United States, do you know, or do they have to, or don't you know?
I would doubt that 100% of this is in the United States. This is a massive, massive company, but I would think the majority of their money is in the United States.
I ask these crazy questions, don't I?
James is saying, I don't think the majority of the banks will fail. I just think that they will not all be bailed out. So I agree with that, James. I'm not saying every last bank is going to be bailed out. But what I do think is every last depositor is going to be bailed out. So, and that's what we saw with the two big banks that failed. Those banks failed and they let them go under and they let nature take its course. But what they did do is come in and say, hey, the depositors are not going to pay for this. Your money is, even though the bank wasn't safe and the bank's gone, your money's safe. So I agree. I see more banks, a couple more banks along the way.
When they start to close, is that put pressure on the stock market?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's big bank closings. And we haven't had a lot of big banks fail in the history of the United States. I mean, we just had the second and third largest failures, and those banks were really just, medium-sized banks, in my opinion. So it definitely depends.
Sorry, I'm asking you all these crazy questions. Somebody's trying to tell me they purchased something from, listen to this one. This is a great reason of why you don't purchase, sorry, I was going to swear, stuff online. This person bought a refrigerator online from Samsung, hooked it up to the wall, and they cross-threaded it. And because they cross-threaded it, they didn't know. And brand new home, brand new house, it leaked and flooded their whole basement. And it went on for about a week and a half.
Were they not there?
No, they weren't there, actually.
I would think.
Yeah, they got a new house. People go on you buy a new house, of course you go on vacation. Isn't that what you do? So now they have a situation where they have a house that's flooded, right? And what do? You call in us to dry it out. They're not accepting liability.
The insurance company?
No, not the insurance company. The person that installed it. They're like, oh, that's not our responsibility.
Well, that's somebody. That
I
part's not
wouldn't
your
care.
problem. Andrew saying 67 million, but I don't know what he said that in response to. I must have fallen behind on the chat.
$67 million, huh?
Mr. J said stick with your local credit union. So that's another.
Yeah, that was going to be another question. If you stay with a local credit union and it's state insured, what happens?
I mean, what happens? Credit unions work differently than banks, obviously, but they're still subject to potential failure. So, I mean, they can't play as fast and loose as the banks can. The banks leverage themselves in ways that potentially get them. That's how they end up in the trouble that they end up in. So, but listen, if the system's going to fail, your money's not safe anywhere. So that we all have to hope that the system itself does not, no matter how bad things get, we got to hope the system does not fail. And meanwhile, if I could sidetrack us with our main topic, Bitcoin has been rallying off of the bottom, and the Bitcoin miners are having a nice comeback. Still mostly in the red, but way off of their lows. Bitfarms is back to $1.09, down 0.9%. CleanSpark is up 3.55%. So you're back in business. Marathon, which is the second largest market cap, is in the green. Riot, which is the largest market cap, is on the verge of getting into the green. It's down 3 cents or 0.24%. So we got potential turnaround. So this is what I'm saying. This was an interesting stream, although we're at all-time low numbers on our stream for some reason. So if anybody is left,
I guarantee you know why.
How come?
Because we talked about Taiwan.
Yeah, we said the words you're not allowed to say. See, this is what, for those of you who doubt, this is what happens. There's stuff you're not allowed to talk about it, and every time we try, we get smacked
And
down.
I'm not trying to make this political. I'm just saying what's going. These are real events that are currently going on.
Yeah, we're talking about reality.
Right.
But sometimes, that's not politically correct always.
It's not.
We're not a political channel. I mean, anybody that's been a subscriber for a long time, anybody that's been a member, you guys know we're all about the investing. But obviously, these geopolitical things affect our investments. So we have to at least understand. It doesn't matter what our opinion is on them. We need to understand what's happening. That's, I guess, what I would say about that. So I think it's an important part of the conversation. Kevin said the weather is very nice today in Ohio. So yeah, some places maybe are starting to get good weather. What are we in? In Florida, you never even know what month. We're in the middle of April.
It's awful in Florida today. It's rainy.
Is it raining outside? I don't look outside anymore. I just stay in my AC, and then George comes and grabs me and makes me go out into the world at least once a day. So it's a bad day here? Well, it's a good day. I hear it's a good day in Ohio. That's the word on the street. I'm buying some GREE ... Bitfarms. Barry saying, what would it take for America to vote for a third party? I've put a lot of thought into that, Barry, over many, many years. And, I think it's a matter of timing, and it's a matter of, if you go way back, we did have one presidential race, really, in modern history where there were 3 candidates. And it's when H. Ross Perot jumped into the mix in, what was that, the 1992 election. So it was George H.W. Bush. It was Bill Clinton who ultimately won that election. And Ross Perot got like 20 million votes. So that's the only time we've ever had anything that even slightly resembles, you know, a 3-candidate election.
What was his famous line? Ross Perot's famous line?
That giant sucking sound you hear is our jobs NAFTA. He was basically running on an anti-NAFTA platform. That was his big deal.
It's not a joke. No, that's somebody else.
And he got 20 million votes. So, I mean, could it happen? I think it's going to take a personality to make that happen, to start that type of... So, I don't know. You can't rule it out. There hasn't always been, you know, these are not the original 2 parties in the United States.
Is he dead?
I don't know. He would be very old man if he's not.
I'm going to look it up.
Find out. You know, you can look that one up. Come on, Bitfarms is almost green. We're going to have a turnaround here today, everybody. We're going to...
Oh, there's a junior.
Is he the junior? It would be...
No, there's a junior, though.
H. Ross Perot. I don't know what the
He
H
died.
stood
Wow,
for.
he just died in 2019.
Well, there you go.
That's pretty impressive, though.
Yeah, he must have lived to... So
but there's a junior that's alive. He looks very happy.
Well,
Poor kids.
He looks very happy. He inherited his father's
I
billions and billions and billions
There's
of dollars.
hardly anything on him. Is a real estate developer and American business. He's best known for the development of Alliance in Texas, an inland port near Dallas. Making first conservation award a helicopter. Yeah, the Perot Group.
JD's asking, hey, Tom, what's your opinion on any? I know you like it, but I don't see any recent videos on it. What is attractive about it? So I haven't done any videos in a while on that. I did a bunch last year. They had some big news, and they were kind of front page for a little while. They've shrunk their business down dramatically. Nobody's paying attention to them at all. I mean, maybe a lot of you guys are, and I am, but, you know, the rest of the world is not really paying attention to them right now. I would do potentially a members-only video. I know the world is not interested in that video, so I don't want to do it for the public because it just hurts the channel's statistics. But I would do potentially a members video for any, because I do think there's good things going on there. And... you know, they've fixed their balance sheet. They have a realistic plan versus the pie-in-the-sky pipe dreams that they were talking about under previous management. So I would say they're a real business now. So, you know, are they going to skyrocket tomorrow? I think that's more of a from my opinion, it's more of a long-term investment. It's not financial advice. But you guys know that I did just jump into any yesterday. So... and I've liked them for a long time. There's a lot of stocks on my watch list that I really like, but it's hard, especially during the long period where we were in such a bear market. I really tried to narrow it down and stay to the absolute highest level conviction stocks that I had. I think we're coming out of this, so I'm starting to dabble a little bit in this. You know, I started the year by buying some Wolf. Now I've added some Any. Those are the only 2 new stocks I've added this year.
But you're happy you added Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf has been awesome. It's down 6% right now, so we'll see. I think Wolf will finish green on the day today. It was up huge earlier this morning. I think this got near $1.50. Or more. Where'd you go? So you can see this 9:30 candle got up to $1.67. And even this 10 o'clock candle, I'm using Eastern time. For those of you around the world, that would be a different time. But this is the candle where the market opened. This is a half an hour into the market open, and it still was at $1.51. So it's now down to $1.34, but I think this could end up green on the day. That would not surprise me at all. In fact, I'm predicting it, not financial advice. Ross Perot paid for his own primetime infomercials for his campaign, and he's dead. That's from Kevin. Yes, he did, and that's part of why. That's why I say it's going to take a certain personality
and he's dead,
and a certain series of events, because he was buying half-hour time frames with his charts and graphs and his pointer.
Now look at here. If I was president, this would not be what's going on today.
He was a character. I know a lot of people. I was not one of them, but I do know a lot of people that voted for Ross Perot.
Oh, do you really?
Yes. A lot. So, he struck a chord at the time. Mark is saying, when I buy Wolf again, it will be my 7th time owning them in a month, printing money from 54.5 cents. So are you getting in and out and swing trading it up and down? I mean, for me, I've been a buy and hold, and it's been a fantastic play. Again, it's down off of its highs on the day today substantially, but I do think there's some room to run. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. So Bitcoin's hanging around. I mean, you can see, look, we are just so tight. And as was the case most of last night and most of the last, 18 hours, we're just a tiny bit under. We're at 29,993. So we're hanging at 30,000. So I would call that line of support is holding right now. And I think that's an important line. Or if we go to the 1 day. So we had, this is where we kind of had a turnaround. We had 3 big up days in a row. We are having a pullback today, which makes sense after this massive rally. But if we have a pullback and we can hold here at 30,000, then if we can't, it looks like, maybe even a retest of 28.8 would certainly still be within a healthy thing if we can hold there. We may not need to, though. Bitcoin's been, we've been going up, then sideways, then up. So we've been doing a lot more. Instead of having pullbacks and retesting lines, we've been doing a lot more sideways consolidation. So you can see, like here, this was all sideways consolidation. Now we did have a little dip and then ran up. This was the one time where it did look like the trend was going to reverse and maybe the run was over. But the banking thing happened and we were back off to the races. This line that I made so light you can't even see anymore, which is right here at this yellow $30,920. That would be Bitcoin up 100% since November 21st. So we still haven't quite gotten to that up 100%. So you want to take a look at, we didn't really even look at CPI. And we talked about it a little bit, and we see, I mean, the end of all this CPI conversation is we're getting a 25 basis point rate hike. So, I mean, if you want to bottom line it, that's what's going on. But here, let me start on this thing because it's easier to show. We're now deep into this cycle. So last June, CPI was 9.1. So in the U.S., that was the peak. But you can see we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row that we're over 8% that we still have to go through. So our ability for this number to go down You know, it's entirely possible this starts with a 4 next month. So that would be encouraging. And there's
Just you
Go ahead,
guys,
George.
hang on. This just in. Ding, 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 ding. Now CleanSpark can run. You want to know why?
You just sold everything.
I just sold it all.
You sold. Where'd you sell it at?
I just sold it at 325.
Oh, nice. All right. Well,
So we'll see what happens. I was averaged in, I think, at 301, so I made a quarter.
so you sold it. You made a little profit. We'll see where it goes from here. You can't.
I'm out.
You're out. I bet you feel better.
Sold some. Yeah, you were smart, Mark. 330. I felt that. I feel that my whole problem with CleanSpark, and I know you're going to yell at me, Tom,
Go ahead.
is that freaking open order that they have. It's not going to make our big run. Once it has a big run, they're going to freaking sell it and take the money, and then we got to keep waiting.
I'm going to do my response to that statement is I'm going to make it my life's mission as a part of this channel to talk about stock dilution, because I think this is the most misunderstood thing in the entire universe of investing. And it's on purpose. Big money has created a narrative around stock dilution, and this is one of the main ways, in my opinion, this is one of the biggest ways, if not the biggest way, that the institutional money steals money from the retail investors. And it is complicated. It's not a 3-minute answer, but there's so much FUD around dilution. Employee compensation is another one that gets massive amounts of FUD. You know, I was just looking at, who was I just looking at? It was a small cap company, and they had like $120 million in 1 year in non-cash compensation. So, you know, a lot of people complain about what the Bitcoin miners are doing. If you look at small cap high growth companies, there's an awful lot of, right, they don't have the cash. When you're a small cap high growth company and you're in the phase where you're growing, you don't have the cash to give to your employees. Also, you want to give them stock because then they have the same incentive that you have. So they want their stock to go up just like you do, just like the retail investor does, just like management does. So, and again, it's much.
And
much,
then
much,
when they're done with their dilution, I will agree with you. I would agree exactly with what you said when they're done with their dilution.
Well, that's why.
Does that make sense?
That's why it makes.
Well, here's
common sense, but it's actually not how the stock market works.
Here, listen to this statement. Okay, listen to this statement. Why wouldn't I go in another Bitcoin stock that is not diluting? And that is not, I'm not going to have to compete against CleanSpark. I have to compete against other retail people.
So do yourself a favor. Pick yourself 4 stocks right now. Don't buy them. And everybody can do this thought exercise. Pick 4 stocks. We know CleanSpark just told us they just made a $145 million purchase order. They are going to go through some major dilution. So pick 4 Bitcoin mining stocks and see
I'm
over
thinking
the
about
next,
going all in on Wolf.
See over the next 90 days. See, that I think you're just busting my chops by saying that. I'm not even going to respond to that. That is not a true statement. By the way, Bitfarms is now green at $1.12. So that's a beautiful thing. So pick 4 stocks, pick CleanSpark and whatever 3 other Bitcoin miners you want, and then compare their performance over the next 90 days. The next 90 days where you know for a fact CleanSpark will be diluting more than any other Bitcoin mining company because they just did the biggest purchase order of any Bitcoin mining company over the last 2 years. Right? We haven't seen one of these. There were no purchase orders like this in the entire year of 2022, and there were none in the entire year so far of 2023. So the second biggest purchase order, by the way, is also from CleanSpark 2 months ago for 20,000 machines and $32 million. So they're the only ones doing this. They are doing the most dilution out of anybody. So let's see how their stock performs.
You know I'm not good at this game, right?
It's not you though, George. I want to go. I want to do a deep dive, and there's probably an awful lot of people. See, here's the problem. We have a lot of savvy investors that are subscribers and are members, and a lot of them probably understand, you know, the different nuances of stock dilution, because they're not all stock dilution is the same. There is some stock dilution that I would say, wow, that's awful, I'm selling that stock. So it does depend on what the company is, where they're at, what they're going to do with the money. And so it's a very complicated issue, but for most people, they just simply go, well, you know, they're just pumping out more shares. They're forever going to pump out more shares, so, you know, their price is never going to go up. So I want to try and find a way to explain it, not to the group of savvy investors that we have here, but to the rest of the people that watch my videos. You should see the comments section regarding...
All in on any, really? Should I?
I didn't call that. I just...
No, we're just reading what other people are saying.
Robert Anderson...
I do agree. At 110 entry point into Wolf would be nice. I'm going to let it keep going down.
This is from Robert. There isn't much stopping any of the miners that had a big run from diluting. Most have at the market offerings, but they haven't told us what they're doing with them. Most have used dilution liberally. So that's the thing. And so that's a good point, Robert. Almost every single one of the bigger Bitcoin mining companies has a shelf offering that's open right now. They don't talk about it very much. They don't do high-profile purchases, and they're not talking about, you know, let's put it this way. The two biggest companies, Riot and Marathon, from a market cap standpoint, they haven't issued a purchase order in a year and a half, either one of them. But they bought all their machines 18, 20, 24 months ago. So now that doesn't mean they paid for them all then, but they're out of the headlines. People aren't seeing these dilution type events in the headlines from them because they got that all out of the way back when Bitcoin was on fire. But you're right, they're diluting as well.
I think Paul Prager, right, at Wolf?
Yes.
I think I liked what he wrote and how he wrote it and how he explained everything.
How he wrote...
How they're not going to have to dilute anymore. And I mean, granted, they're not even going to be the same size, obviously. But what size are they going to be?
They're going to be much, much, much smaller than, you know, they're going to be a third or a quarter of the size of...
But what happens if Bitcoin prices doesn't go to... Let's play hypothetical. Let's say Bitcoin goes back down to $16,000, where it just came from. Can Cleanspark make money at that?
Cleanspark's pretty thin margins at 16,000. So, but this goes to your investment thesis. If you believe Bitcoin's going to $16,000, right? That is a core fundamental one of your premise. If you are investing in the Bitcoin miners, one of the main things you have to have a opinion on is, where is Bitcoin going? If you think it's going to $16,000, then you don't need me to tell you should not invest in Bitcoin or any of the Bitcoin miners, because that's almost a 50% move to the downside, and all of these things are going to get crushed in that scenario. So these are a lot of if-thens. Like, if you believe that, right, then yeah, these are all bad investments.
But I don't believe it's going to be there forever. I just think it's going to go back down there.
If you're willing to take the approach, and these are different approaches. Some people just dollar cost average in because they don't know when the bottom is. Some people don't do that. Some people feel very strongly the next move is down in a big way. I'm going to get out for now, and I'm going to try and time a bottom and get in later. I don't do that too much. I do that on a small scale with options. But for my actual investments, I don't guess, because I've never guessed right.
See, you're more sophisticated than me.
Well, but the principles are basic. That's what I'm saying. The people that stick to the most basic principles are usually the ones that over the course of time, and if you measure any 30 days or 90 days or even even a bad year. Like 2022 was a bad year. It just was.
Really bad.
And so, you know, if
But
you,
it started at the end of 2021, so.
right. So if you judge your investing history on how did I do in 2022, you know, if you're
Yeah.
a dollar cost average type of a person, you had a bad year in 2022. What you hope is,
Thanks,
though,
Tom, for reminding me.
well, here's what you hope. That was later, you may look back at 2022 and go, wow, you know, my portfolio went way down, but that's the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to double all my positions for half the price. And so now it's 5 years later, and the 2022 is the reason I'm rich right now.
Right.
So, but that takes, this is a game of patience the way I play it. I know there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's swing traders, there's day traders, there's people that use combination of all those things. So
I have to admit, Tom, I'm sorry, guys, but I love talking to you like this because it just is so interesting, and I wish we had other people listening because it's so true. This is how you make money, and that's why I can't. That's why I'm not good at doing this game. You know,
it's hard, and it's hard for you because you have so many other businesses going on that, you know, you can't. Other businesses, you can't make those kinds of decisions. You got to look at your monthly cash flow and make decisions in real time because, you know, you're not getting that money back. The market works differently. So I know that's you're methodical about that in your other businesses, and that has led to a lot of success, but it's a different principle. Trading stocks, it doesn't translate.
Terry Shark says, Tom, CleanSpark's already paid for the 20K miner. They are about to install over the next 2 to 3 months. They may not need to dilute for months until they start paying for the next 45K batch.
So thank you, Terry. That's exactly right. They've paid the 20,000 that they announced that they bought a couple of months ago are now already paid in full. So the question is, when are they going to need this money? Did they need to put a deposit down? I mean, I feel like if you order 45,000 machines, $145 million, they're going to have to put some deposit down and start paying over time. And they don't have that much time because they expect to have 100% of these machines 4 months from now.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with you. I believe that I could almost show that they were buying at 330 today. I'm not saying that they didn't stop, but you could almost see it. It looked like CleanSpark was going to have a freaking runaway day, and then all of a sudden it stopped at 330, and that's what pisses me off. And I guess, you know, I look at it as, you know, I believe in the fundamentals of the company and stuff like that, but I like making money. And, you know, and in the course of making money, they have to raise $145 million, and they're going to do it by beating up their stock because it's the only way they can do it.
So that is what you feel strongly right now. Having
Yeah.
said that, while the entire board is red, CleanSpark's up 5.5%.
I agree. I understand. I didn't say I was good at it, Tom. Everybody, I've said this time and time again that I'm not necessarily good at it. And I think, Barry, you hit the thing, the truth. Tom is a number facts investor. George is a retail sentiment investor. Both are valid, but I lose.
Well, I mean, right. Nobody
And
can say
here's-
your way is right and your way is
Right.
wrong. And it's all just about, but that's, you know, as we all are on here, we talk about different strategies and we learn together. But there is one thing I would like to say. I do think some people.
George, you are dead wrong. I agree. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you how I feel. You know what I mean? I guess that's my problem.
To answer Darren said, Tom, I really think your statement on CleanSpark dilution being massive needs to be corrected to they will dilute as minimal as necessary. So I think that both of those things are true. So I agree with you, Darren, and you know, sometimes words, you know, make a difference. I have always believed that CleanSpark's management is extremely diligent with their dilution. So that means that they will, you know, they're not just going to go run out today and raise all that money because they have to. They will dilute
No, they're
in
going
a manner
to over a period of time, right?
in a manner
Because their
and fashion
stock
that's-
couldn't take it.
Right. Well, yes, right. They don't want to drive the price of their stock down. They also hope the price of their stock will go up. So I think they're good stewards of their stock dilution. I don't.
That's the
For
person
me,
I want to meet.
dilution
If
is
there's
not a bad
anybody I
word.
want to meet, that's the person I want to meet. I want to meet the person that's making the decisions of when to sell and when to, because there is a person or a team of people that is doing this.
Well, no doubt. I mean, they
You
got
can't
to.
raise $145 million. And here's the other thing too, is I think that's a little of aggressive. I feel that's a little, that's pretty aggressive. I think that, you know, at some point in time, if there's a Bitcoin pullback, which, I think there is definitely going to be one, that, what happens if they don't raise the 145? What happens if the stock starts to plummet? Are they just going to keep selling? You know what I mean? Do they have it brings in a lot of questions to me of when they're going to sell and
This
how, you know what I mean? This is
this would
why go ahead.
this would be my answer to that, because and this is the decision I believe that they've made, and I've done the math, so if I've done it, they've done it times 1,000. They have been aggressive. However, they have not used any debt. So remember, and I've been talking about this for years on this channel, the companies that chose the route of debt all got destroyed in the crypto winter, because there's
Oh yeah, they got destroyed.
the difference between debt
Core.
and equity is night and day, right? There's three different ways to get money into your business: through operations and profits, or by borrowing it through debt, or by issuing new stock through equity. So those two things, one of those things was almost across the board 100% failure for every single Bitcoin miner that mined money. It was a massive, massive setback to their business. A lot of them survived that setback, but even Bitfarms, which I think is one of the best performers and it's one of my favorite Bitcoin miners, they were planning on being at 8 exahash 4 months, December 31st, 2022, they were going to be at 8 exahash. But unfortunately, things didn't work out their way, and they borrowed about $165 million, and they had to go through a long period of time correcting their balance sheet. Their balance sheet got very ugly. They did so. So I think Bitfarms has done an outstanding job. They now have, around $25 million in debt versus $165 million. So they have fixed their problem. And I think they made that calculation. And I'm going to say the same thing about CleanSpark. I think CleanSpark has decided, and they are the most aggressive, but by using equity instead of debt, they know that, listen, even if our stock goes down, even if Bitcoin goes down to 20,000 or 18,000, even if we have to do all of this dilution at $2 a share, it's still going to add so much more value to our company than that we're going to be a million miles ahead, even at $2 a share. So
Right.
if they can average in at $3, $4, $5 a share, that makes it even better. But the incremental, what they're going to be able to do, so think of it this way: in the fourth quarter of 2023, CleanSpark is going to be theoretically, so let's say they execute their plan as described, they're going to be at 16 exahash for October, November, December. Let's say they mine 5,000 Bitcoin in those three. Now, let's say they mine 4,000 Bitcoin. They'll be in a position where they can put 3,000 of those on their balance sheet. Right? And then they got 4 more months in 2024.
Now you're making me want to get back in.
They got 4 more months in 2024 before the halving happens, where they'll be able to do the same thing. Right? So these are super, super complicated. Trust me, I know most of you guys have a life and you don't have the time all day to run through these models, but I do these cash flow modelings and this kind of stuff to try to see, like, what are these companies doing? Are they making a mistake? It was evident to me from the get-go. Core Scientific they were so ridiculously over aggressive. Sorry, but that was the case. They were wildly over aggressive. With Bitfarms, I always had confidence in them. They were a high conviction play because I did in my versions of the worst, I do worst case scenario, likely case scenario, best case scenario. Well, I will tell you, 2022 was the worst case scenario. But even in that scenario, Bitfarms' model worked. They took a risk They would have been a grand slam. Had Bitcoin run up,
That's a
Bitfarms
good
bet
one.
would have paid off huge. Maybe they'd be at $20 right now, but it didn't work out that way. But what they did know is that it wasn't going to put them out of business.
I hope you guys understand. I'm not trying to be an idiot here, and I'm not. And by the way, I'm up on XRP like 20-some%. I think I'm doing pretty good on XRP life. But I understand. I didn't buy any of the MREs, by the way. Somebody actually outbid me. And then what else am I going to say? I understand it all makes sense, but it just always seems. Here's my problem with CleanSpark. You want to know my God's honest truth?
Let's hear it.
We had a conversation last year when it was at $9, and you're like, how can it be at $9? It doesn't make any sense that it's at $9. And then we had a conversation at $8, and you said, George, it makes no reason. There's no reason this company should be at $8, $7,
said the same thing.
$6, $5, $4. You see what I mean?
So
and it just go ahead.
The question is,
so when you're down, over six figures in this stuff, it gets nerve-wracking.
What we should do, you and I should do this separately, and then if you want, we can share it with the world. We should do a scenario had you dollar cost averaged in. Instead of buying in and out and selling, if you had just dollar cost averaged in the whole way, where would you be right now? Now, on CleanSpark, I think you would still be down, but I think you'd be better than you think. And then run that forward. 6 months from now, would you be way up?
You're making me hot.
That's the that's the question, because there are a lot of people I know in some of these other stocks that are already not cash flow. They're already back into the green on their investments because they continue to dollar cost average in. So you're right. You don't know.
You get to see my belly.
$9 I thought was ridiculous for CleanSpark at the time. But we were in a crypto winter, and things not only got worse, they got much worse.
Right.
And I don't, but again, I know from myself, I don't know when the exact bottom is. I don't know when the exact top is. I didn't even think we were going to have a crypto winter. I thought we would have a bear market in cryptocurrency and have it be a little more normalized than it was in the past. But we had a full-blown crypto winter, and it was brutal.
Right. No, it's interesting to me because now CleanSpark, see, I told you CleanSpark, as soon as I got rid of it, now it's back to 330.
Well, and you're going to kill yourself on a 15-minute by 15-minute basis. That's the hardest part about this. And I know that you keep a close eye on this, and I think it drives you crazy.
Okay. Sorry for the tangent. I hope this, I guess you're right. I'm like a retail guy then that doesn't understand anything.
It's not.
I agree with you, Darren. George, you're down six figures because you failed to think clearly and understand what a quality investment is. You're the feedstock smart money devours. I 100% agree with you. I have never, ever, 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 repeat it again, ever made money in the stock market. I've made money in real estate. I've made money in buying and selling businesses. And I feel that I've done really well. But for the stock market, I hate it.
You're making money in crypto, but
I'm making money in crypto.
But this is our goal. This is a part of the journey. We're on a journey. That's why you're a big part of this channel.
You guys,
George.
you got to understand, I could afford to lose this. It's no big deal that I lost it. I don't care. It's water under the bridge now.
Nobody likes losing the money, and you in particular don't like losing. Forget about the money. You don't like.
I can even tell you how Tom and I got into this. Well, Tom's the seasoned investor, but we started doing options on Apple, and
yes,
I got crushed. And I got right. Remember, and you're like, it's like we picked the one week in 2021 that like Apple turned, it went different. Remember? We picked the 1 week. It was right before Thanksgiving in 2021.
So many times that happens. It's like you make your investment at the one time. It's almost like you can bank on it. So I don't know what the greater forces are that are at work, but so often that happens, and then you get unlucky, and maybe it's not unlucky because that type of strategy just it is hit or miss. So by the same token, some people get in and their first thing is a big giant win. They get hooked and then they lose money the rest of their life. So, it can go either way. All right, we got 70. We're starting to get some momentum. If anybody who's willing to smash the like button, we got 70 likes. We stopped
Becky's
talking
late
about all
anyways.
those words that we weren't allowed to say, and there were people.
Yeah,
now
I'm
the
telling
stream
you
is
that's,
back.
and they're like, oh, okay, they like put us in a 15-minute timeout or something like that.
Exactly.
Cleanspark is ripping. Did it keep going?
It's at 3. I'm seeing it at 3:30. Although
yeah, I know, but that's going to be the line.
Let's see, 3:33. I think we saw it hit
We
a couple
did
of
see
times,
that. Yep.
and then it seemed to turn around from there. And we'll see. Bitcoin is doing okay. We're at over 30,000 now.
We should change the name of the channel to like frickin' frack investing or something like that. Because you are the seasoned investor and I'm the idiot. Which is, hey, I'm okay with that.
It's
Losses are the best teacher of all. What matters is what you change to learn from the losses.
and so that was, I don't know, part of that was from Mark that you just read, and Mark, you've been with us a long time, and so I know you've been in the game for a while. That's what I'm saying. One of my goals, I have many goals for this channel. One of my goals is for George, because you got a long life ahead of you. If the rest of your life you're making money in the stock market and you change that one piece, right? That would be a beautiful thing.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's not affecting your lifestyle
Pro
one
and
way
Joe
or the
investing.
other.
That's a great one, Mike. Pro and Joe investing.
That's a good one. Nice.
That is a good one. 'Cause, I mean, here's the thing. In life, for me, it's always been the seat of my pants has worked. In investing, the seat of my pants does not work.
Investing is its own animal. It can be extremely counterintuitive, and they use time to steal your money.
Yes.
Those are some of the things that are, it can be very, it goes against a lot of just basic human natures, especially some basic, business principles. So business and investing are definitely two different animals.
Right. Hope you guys find this interesting that I'm an idiot and Tom's smart. At least
Well, George is saying that for fun, but that is not true. George is not an idiot. He's very successful.
I'm thinking about, I hate to say it, but I'm thinking about moving into like Marathon or Riot.
I mean,
but they're already $10 and $12. They're already way up.
I'm going to tell you this. I'm looking at Marathon. I'm not in Marathon right now. I chose Riot, and I made my list clear. I put out my top 8, and Riot was my number 1. Marathon was my number 5. I will update that list, but that was my January 1st, 2023 list. So, I'm going to see how that list does. Marathon, I think, is poised. If they can do their thing, Riot has jumped way ahead of them. So I'm thinking about Marathon as a potential investment. If we can break out to the upside from here.
Uh-oh, here it comes back down. I guarantee it. 29,999 Bitcoin just hit.
We're right hanging around. I mean, it is hanging around that 30, and I think that's very, very strong.
We want to talk about insider trading. They get it up to 330, right? Oh, okay. Bitcoin. We need Bitcoin to come down. Okay, let's go ahead and sell some Bitcoin. sell some Bitcoin, right? The price comes back down, CleanSpark comes back down, yada yada. See what I'm saying?
You see what you're saying. Chris Dominator said, George, buy Mara.
I
Mara
don't, but
number
Mike,
one.
I'm not big on HUT right now. I'm scared to death of HUT. Tom, take it.
I mean, I'm in a holding pattern on HUT. There's no doubt. We had them on the channel after they announced that deal. There's still a lot of pieces of that puzzle I would like to know more about. Their monthly mining number is very low.
Very low.
Yeah, it's so some of those trends are not, are not great. I still have a high level of conviction in HUT, having said all that, based on the fact that their balance sheet is spectacular. So that is a big part of the puzzle. So you can have some periods operationally where, maybe you're hibernating or changing game plans or whatever it is that you're doing. If you have a very, very, very strong balance sheet that allows for that. So to me, that's why I still have some confidence in HUT, but I don't love what's happening the last, 75 days with HUT. I have not added any HUT in 2023.
There is a little bit of a lag, but now Bitcoin's back to 30023, so CleanSpark will come back up. 329. I'm not saying I'm getting out of it forever, but I'm getting out of it for a minute. I feel something coming.
Organic Auto said Riot, Marathon, and CleanSpark are my top three, and I think that's solid. I mean, those are clearly the three. Those are going to be the three, and I leave Core Scientific out of the conversation because they're in Chapter 11. So no matter how many Bitcoin they mine, they have to sell them all to try and chip away at their debt. But
Nate, that could be why I'm fat, because I have no discipline.
Then why am I fat?
I think HUT will work out in the end too, Benny. But here's the problem. I think that there's going to be... I think it could be a good short. I hate to say that.
They popped over $2 today for a few minutes. So they've been fighting that line, but you'll see they went right back under it. Yeah, I mean, HUT to me is a hold. That's my personal opinion. I think their balance sheet is strong. I like their management. I think they're in the middle of a gigantic potential merger here, and, it's got 100% of their attention. They're not really too worried about how many Bitcoin they mine next month. That's not what's going to be their success or failure equation for them. So, but for that reason, it's
Nolan, I almost I'm going to highlight your post, and I'm going to save it. It says Marathon's going to 23 exahash by the middle of 2024, perhaps by July or August in 2024. Marathon can mine 1,500 Bitcoins per month. Wouldn't that be after? Do you mean the 24th? The year 2024?
So, Nolan, I don't know if that's your estimate and you're adjusting for the fact that they've missed every time frame they've ever said.
Right.
They say that they're going to be at 23 exahash by the middle of 2023.
Oh, maybe he misspoke.
No, I don't think so. I think he's probably saying, listen, next month it is the middle of 2023. And they're
I have a question. So that would only be 750 Bitcoin then, correct?
After the halving.
Right, after the halving.
But at 23 exahash, they would be mining... even after the halving, I bet you they'll be mining 1,000 Bitcoin.
I'm going to start keeping track of people's little statements like that.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of interesting. I mean, I hope you're right.
Darren said Wolf's about to go back green. Don't bet against Wolf. They've been on fire.
Notes from show. Well, I'm going to get yelled at if I don't get off soon, by the way.
All right, George.
Soon? Do you see what that means now?
Soon means now.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, George.
Oh, it was a typo. He meant 2023. Okay. I'll see you guys. Thanks for listening to me.
All right, thanks, George. Thanks for joining us.
Are you going to lunch?
Sure.
Okay, see you in a little bit. Bye.
You got it. All right, so we just switched over to no George mode. So what George talks about, I really feel like is what a lot of people feel out there. And so, I mean, that's why these are conversations worth having. And this is, you guys know, again, we have a lot of experienced investors that are members and subscribers. So a lot of you listening know how all this works and that this is not easy, and it takes time and patience, and you got to make good decisions, and then you got to stick with those decisions. You also have to reassess things as you go if circumstances change, right? If something's fundamentally changed with a company you're invested in, then you got to make a reassessment of what you want to do with that company. Benny's saying, I think hosting will cover a large majority of operations. Bitcoin will be mostly profit. I'm not sure who he's saying that regarding. I would like to see someday, because I will tell you right now, for all the publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, all they do is lose money hosting. So if you look at all their financial statements, every single Bitcoin miner loses money hosting. That equation is going to fix itself, and that also could be a little bit of accounting negotiating, if you will. So we'll see how that goes, but that would be nice. I mean, I think that's the theory for these companies. Let's, you know, if hosting wasn't a profit center, then you would just plug your own machines in. So I got to believe that you're right, Benny. They're expecting that hosting portion of their business to be a profit center going forward, but thus far it has not been that way for any of these companies. Robert Anderson is saying, isn't anybody scared of wolf dilution? In February, they said they would use some of their possible $200 million offering. So that's like what we talked about. Almost every single one of these Bitcoin miners does have a shelf offering. So, you know, you don't know which day you're going to wake up. I mean, yesterday was a day we woke up and all of a sudden Cleanspark announced we just spent $145 million. Now, I understand they didn't spend it yesterday, but they committed to it. They made a purchase order for $145 million. Now, they had been telling us all along, this is what we're going to do, so it shouldn't have been a shock. But a lot of these other companies, one of the things that's over the last 6 months, companies like Cypher, TerraWolf, Iris Energy, I'll name those, but there's more. And I'll throw Riot in there. They are not talking at all about what they're going to do next. And you know they all have plans to do the next thing. Riot's been talking about 12.5 exahash since 2021. So they have not changed that plan. And they're not going to just get to 12.5 exahash and sit there forever. They have another facility in Texas that they haven't even started yet that's bigger than the facility that they're at right now. So we know there's plans coming, but they're not. Everybody else is being very low profile about them. I think that's going to change, you know, if Bitcoin can continue this run up. And I'm not saying it's a run to the moon. If it can stay above 30,000 for a bit, I think you're going to see some of these companies start to let the cat out of the bag. They're already making these plans, you know, in the boardroom, but none of them are ready to make the announcements yet. So I think that stuff is coming from a lot of these companies, because they're only now just getting to the goals that they've been talking about for a long time, and they don't want to talk about what's next because they don't want to get, number one, they don't want to commit to it because they want to see which way Bitcoin's going. Number two, they don't want their stock to get beat up. So that seems like that's what's happening to me. Scapegoat said my average is $14 on Marathon. You can buy that, George. So yeah, I mean, even, you know, it's not, Marathon's back to $10, but $14, I believe, is a very low number for Marathon. So I expect Marathon to take out its all-time high in the next 24 months. That's my personal opinion. So, and that's not even one of my top conviction plays, but it is one that I think, assuming they get to where they're going, and it seems like they are now much, much more. You can tell in 2023, they've been much closer to on track with their plans than they were in 2022. They ran into a lot of brick walls in 2022. They didn't get where they were going, but it seems like they're on the right path right now. So I do think there's a really good chance they take out their all-time high in the next couple of years, which was over $80. So when you look at it from that perspective, being in at $14, is probably more. There's probably more people than not whose average is higher than that on Marathon. And there's an awful lot of people in the middle who bought high and sold low and just lost money, and they're never getting it back. So, to me, in my mind, if you have conviction in that stock, better to hold it and get all your money back and then some. Nate said, Mara excites the heck out of me for that very exahash per second mid-2023 reason. But for the aggressive speculating side of me, the January 2024 $1 Bitfarm calls are the best options play right now. So that's the only options I'm in at all right now are Bitfarms call options, and I have them at several different dates. So I actually tend to agree with you, Nate. They're practically giving them away. Bitfarms is now up 1.36%. That puts them at $1.12. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but there was a battle at $1. There was a lot of money trying to keep them under $1. So if they can put some distance in between themselves and that dollar, and that battle is over, then I do think they're going to have a gap upward. Not to the moon, not even to $2, but I think $1.50 is in sight, in my opinion, for Bitfarms. Hello, Alex. Alex is saying, hi, Tom. George won't take the time to learn how to invest. Flying by the seat of his pants produces the results he posts. Doing the same thing over and over again unsuccessfully is insanity. So it's hard to go. I hear what you're saying, Alex. Part of the problem is it's just, yes, this is a very disciplined thing that has to be done. And it goes against human nature. It definitely goes against George's nature, and he's not alone. I would say more people are like that than not. So it's a learning curve, and you're right. Until you take the time and discipline, and sometimes you got to sit there and look at a portfolio that's red and say, this is a part of the journey. Not all portfolios go straight to the moon. Now, I know a lot of people jumped into investing in 2020, and, for about a year, they got the wrong impression that everything goes up in a straight line. But, that was an extremely unusual year. These are the types of years that happen. Now, 2022 was an awful year. Much, much worse than average. So that was one of the worst. I think it was the 7th worst year in the stock market. So, that's a very bad year. So somewhere in the, we hope that 2023, 24, 25 are somewhere in the middle and we get towards normal years, and ultimately our portfolios do what they're supposed to do. Let's see. Benny is saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but the more miners increasing output, the harder / longer to mine each Bitcoin. So the more exahash, and really this is an indirect, but essentially you can look at it as the bigger the Bitcoin network is, the more exahash that's on the network, theoretically, the more difficult it gets for each block to be mined. The goal being they want the average to be, in a 2-week period, they want the average block to take 10 minutes to mine. So some of this has to do with luck. I mean, that's just a fact. They're cracking a code, and some of it is luck. And you'll see there's some blocks that are done in a minute. There's some blocks that one block took like a couple hours a few months ago. And so it's not like it's not like they're all plus or minus 10 minutes, and, you know, most of them are coming in at 9.5 minutes or 10.5. They're all over the place, but they take that average every 2 weeks and say, okay, over the last 2 weeks, it only took 9.5 minutes to solve a block on the average. So we need to increase the difficulty level, so they make the puzzle, if you will, more difficult, because the puzzles overall on the average are getting solved too fast. So yes, your premise is correct in general. Just catching up. I'm reading. Alex is saying, not advice Bollinger Bands for beginners. Yeah, and Bollinger, the actual person who is Bollinger, did just talk last week about the fact that there's a squeeze in the bands, and he was expecting a move, and we talked about that. We've looked at the Bollinger Bands from time to time. I do want to start doing a series of, I don't know if beginner is the right word, but just some of the fundamentals and some of the basics. Because the way that I look at this, there's two things that happen in investing. There's, you know, interpreting the data and making your own opinion, you know, based on your own due diligence as to what your risk tolerance is to make an investment. But before that, if you don't even understand the data, then whatever thought process you have that comes after that is useless, because you don't understand it's garbage in, garbage out. You know, if you guys remember, those of you who are roughly my age, that was the old computer thing, garbage in, garbage out. So, you know, if you don't understand the data, and any assessment you make of it is going to be faulty. And a lot of this data can be very counterintuitive. So I want to spend more time just talking about what do these things mean. And then, you know, that doesn't mean that I know what to do as far as buying the stock after that, but at least this is what the data is saying, because I think a lot of people misunderstand what the data is even saying. So obviously everybody has their own personal opinion from there. Okay, the data says this. What do I think this means from an investment standpoint? That's everybody's own personal decision. But the data itself, I think I want to spend more time on, because, and I know people don't have the time to do all of this stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot. But, you know, I think some just going through refreshing. It's like reading, I'll tell you, I read self-help books from time to time, and it's not because there's something enlightening in there that I've never heard before. It's because, you know, you remind yourself of all the practices and principles that help you succeed, that keep you on, you know, moving in the right direction. So that's what I'm talking about. Benny's saying, who controls the difficulty level? That's an automatic part of the program. So that will happen from now until the end of Bitcoin. It's built in to the equation. So there's not a committee somewhere going, oh, they're solving it too fast, let's make things harder. That's just all in the program. Blue Dope, still holding my $1.54 average in Marathon from 4 years ago. 15K shares strong. Nice. Now that's long-term investing, and that had to be a painful journey. But, you know, you're in at $1.54, so you're in awesome shape right now. Raymond says, so are you only reading chat from members? I'm not even reading all the members' chats. I can't, there's so much chat now that it's impossible for me to read every single thing, you know, and it depends. Sometimes it slows down a little and I'm able to catch up. Sometimes all of a sudden I'm 20 comments behind. So when I do fall far behind, I try to get to the members' comments, because they have helped support the channel. But I try and read them all, but it's, you know, I can't always keep up. So see, here's a moment where we gone a minute and nobody's left a comment. Let's see, Gorilla. I bought Mara and Riot at the top too, but I have been averaging down every month, even when things looked scary. My only regret is not throwing in more money when it was at its lowest point in December. So it sounds like maybe you missed the one last dollar cost average chance. But I mean, really, true dollar cost averaging, you'd keep going, you know, even now. Alex is saying John Bollinger has an exclamation on YouTube. I think that probably means an explanation on YouTube for new to Bollinger Bands, how he developed and how to use. Oh, that would be good. Well, I mean, if he's done one himself, I mean, he invented them, so there's no reason in me doing one. So I'll try and find that and share that with everybody. So Life, that's right. He said, no, Raymond, I'm not a member, and he reads my comments frequently. He just simply can't read them all. So sometimes I can't. It's funny. The comments come in spurts. Like right now, it's been pretty slow, so I'm actually caught up. But every once in a while, actually more often than not, they're coming so fast that I can't keep up with them. So if we check in on Bitcoin, we're at 29,967, now 970. So we're still within $30 of $30,000. We've been right there all along. The Bitcoin miners are way off of their lows on the day, but still, this is still mostly a red board when this morning it was completely a green board. Then it went red, then it went deep red, and now we've had a decent turnaround. A sideways day today isn't going to surprise. I want to show you guys. So this was Monday. I saved the big board from the last couple of days. You can see how green Monday was. Like HUT up 9%, Cleanspark 11%, Riot 15%, Marathon 14%, etc. So this was Monday, was a huge green day, but this was nothing. This was Tuesday. Bitfarms up 14%, Cleanspark up 14%, Riot 17, Marathon 12, Gree was up 25.8%, TerraWolf 23.2%, Stronghold almost 20%, Core Scientific 26%. So we just came off of this day and this day. So if we go a little sideways today, I'm not going to cry about it because we just had two massive moves up. Bitcoin is clearly very sideways today. So, as long as we don't have a big push to the downside, I'm going to consider that a win for the day today. And it looks like that's what's going on. So hopefully we inch away at getting some of these back to zero and back into the green today. And Cleanspark, again, after 3 months of lagging behind, ever since they've made that announcement of what they're doing, they're up more in those 3 days than they were in the 3 months before that. So I guess people, for whatever reason, people did like that announcement. Life said, hitting 30K was great. Doesn't really matter what happens the rest of this week. That psychological price recovery is going to get a lot of non-holders thinking over the next month. So I agree with that, and that's why I'm really hoping we hold 30,000, because some of these numbers are big psychological numbers. Being north of 30,000 when we were, we bottomed out in late November at 15,500-ish. So we're very, very close to 100% move up. And if we can hold that, I agree with Life. That's going to get a lot of people that maybe have been sitting and waiting and looking for that signal that, the bull market's back on. And I think that's part of what got us here. So I'm still looking for the next leg to be up. And understand when I say that, I'm going to go to the 1 day. There's always, I think the next leg is, hold on. I think that the next leg is up. My next line is at 33,000. I will draw some lines in the middle because there is some resistance in the middle here. But it's always possible we revisit our previous line of resistance. So we spent all this time bumping up against this line and broke through it. We ran straight through it. Sometimes we don't go back and retest that, and that's great. But I don't get nervous if we do. So my two things that I would want to hold, my first step, I'd love to hold 30,000 and go up from here. But if we can't, I'd really like to hold this 28.8 and show that as support. That either one of those things I think would be very bullish for Bitcoin and would result, I think, in some continued upward pressure on Bitcoin. And you can see this week anyway, the Bitcoin miners have started to catch up. They are lagging way, way behind the price action that Bitcoin has had this year. So I think there's some more catch up to go. I think the run can continue from here. Benny said a lot of miners are testing support or resistance. Next couple of weeks could be good. Darren said people liked CleanSpark announcement because they will have more exahash than Riot by year end. So maybe it's just that simple. People are going here. They got themselves a 15.9 exahash. You know, let's get in. So that's entirely possible. Benny's looking for a pause from the Fed, which I am almost certain is not coming this month. I'm going to refresh this and see if it's changing throughout the day today. It's been pretty steady. So, yeah, we're still... It's been between... So, this is the probability built into the futures. We're at 70% that there's going to be a 25 basis point rate hike on May 3rd. We've been between 70 and 71% all day today, so it hasn't really changed that much. Yesterday, we were at 72.9, so despite the fact that CPI came in better than expected, this did not really change anybody's mind at all. So I feel comfortable saying it is highly probable we're getting a 25 basis point rate hike unless something drastic happens in the next couple of weeks. This meeting's on May 3rd, so it's still 3+ weeks away. So if something drastic happens in the middle, then maybe that would change people's mind. But otherwise, even a good even a better than expected CPI number, and we were already expecting a great number, we got better than expected, and that still didn't move people off of this opinion. So I think we seem fairly locked into that. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining on the midday live stream. So today is Wednesday, so no live stream tomorrow. And then Friday, we will have a live stream. Our normal live stream every Friday is after the market closes. I'm traveling on Friday, so I will put out a notice between now and then. We will still definitely do a live stream. I just got to get you guys what time it will be. So thanks again to everybody for joining us on today's live stream. Thanks for all the members. Thanks to the new member that we got. And good luck, everybody, today. And I will be getting some videos out, and then I will see you in Friday's live stream. Thanks.